and I saw her every day. She sat right here, right? And she's one of those people that you can literally see God change.
Yeah.
And who she was when she walked in on day one, she will never be that person again. No, so praise God. Yeah, praise God. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today, in our ministry group, there was somebody that, I'm just gonna tell stories. So there's somebody that we went through their ministry, we got all done, and this is what she asked me, what's next? What now what? Or something like that. And I said, well, just come back to class. Because what we're gonna do is, today what we're gonna talk about is our belief systems and how those belief systems are formed. It's a different kind of teaching because we're gonna be using a PowerPoint. I don't do that a lot, but this is what I'm gonna use, and you'll see down at the bottom, I do want to cite the sources for this presentation. It's scripture, it's Living in the Freedom of the Spirit, it is a book called Rational Christian Thinking, and it is the workbooks that you have. The Empowering Ministry Workbook is a class that we'll talk more about that at the end, but it's a class that's about oaths and how we do oaths. Okay, so there's going to be 2 sessions. We're going to start today with learning a little bit about what a belief system is and what it means to renew our minds. And I'm going to introduce to you a model called LERC, which stands for Life Event Revelation Chart. We want you to walk out of here with tools. So the whole first part of the class was about helping us to bring revelation. And now we're going to be helping you with some tools that you can take out of it. So I'm going to introduce one of them to you today. And then on Thursday, you're going to have some homework. And then on Thursday, Friday, thank you. Sorry, I'm sorry. I got my face in a second. On Friday, when we come back, we're going to talk more about the LERC, and we're going to talk about how we start to change our belief system. So let's start with, what is a belief? A belief is something to trust in, to hold a conviction about. How many of you, by just a show of hands, identified a lie that you believed, or a vow that you made, or a curse that you've been living under? How many of you, by show of hands, identified something like that in ministry? Okay, excellent. Those are beliefs. Those are beliefs. If you believe something that is, and it can be true or not true, but that's a belief. And a belief system is a reservoir within our mind that contains our values, our opinions, perceptions, desires, attitudes, experiences, memories, self-talk, ideas, and thoughts. Man, that's a lot. And you can see over here to the right, all of those things are represented by an umbrella. Now, I didn't create this PowerPoint, but the person that did, why do you think that he chose an umbrella to symbolize all of those things? Why do you think he chose an umbrella to symbolize all those things? It protects us. Yes, it can. It covers us. So if you've got the truth as the center, it covers you. If you've got a lie, guess what? It covers you. Yeah. And so beliefs this is lovely. I think if I probably did this PowerPoint, I probably would have put a tentacles up there. I think the beliefs have tentacles. So we can identify a lie, like in this context, I understand that that's a lie, but we start to have it, but then when we start to understand the breadth of that, it can become overwhelming. So let me tell you what I mean by that. I told you that I believe I told you, that I believe, the lie that I believed was that if I allowed people to know me, they were going to reject me. That was my belief. And I told you how it all came to be about, but if I allow people to know me, they will reject me. So how do you think that that affects my perceptions and interactions? How do you think it affects my value system? What I value, what I don't value. How does it even start to affect my memories? It's huge. Because I'm bouncing everything up against that lie. Everything goes against that belief system. Simply everything. So it affected my relationship with my daughter. It reflected relationship in my work, relationships in my work. It reflected the relationship I have with myself. So imagine when God shows me that my worthiness of being loved is not based upon how people accept me, but that He created me. He created me to be in relationship with Him and with purpose. When that became my truth, how do you think that started to affect my perceptions? See, Tara just spoke about it. When her belief system was that she was invisible, then that's what she saw. She collected the evidence. She collected the evidence. And then when God showed her the truth, it totally changes her mind, and she starts to see you. And literally, when she said, I see you, did you see her see you? She looked at all of you. She saw you. And that is a difference in a belief system, how a belief system can affect us. So belief systems are huge. We think a little old lie, like, if I allow people to know me, they will reject me. That's only going to pop up here and there. No. It's every day. I'm bouncing my life up against that belief system. And so today what we're going to talk about is God has brought revelation into your life about lies that you may have believed, or something that you gave authority, a curse that you gave authority, or a vow that you gave authority. And so now we're going to start to look at the way in which you can start to test. But wait a minute, am I believing a lie here, or am I believing God's truth? That's what today's about. And God talks to us about this. So I'd like somebody to volunteer to read this first scripture, Romans 12:2. Do I have a volunteer that will just read that aloud? Yes, thank you.
Romans 12:2, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will.
And that's what we're talking, thank you so much. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about renewing our minds. That's changing our belief systems. That's what God instructs us to do. Renew your mind. Okay, will somebody volunteer to read 1 Peter 1:13? Thank you. Yeah. Then I'll have you read this up. That's fine.
Therefore, prepare your minds for action. Be self-controlled. Set your hope fully on the grace to be given to you when Jesus Christ is revealed. As obedient children, do not conform to the evil desires you have in you.
Right. So when God brings you revelation, here's the thing: you can't unknow what you know. You now know it. And so we walk in the truth, and He tells us, do not conform to the evil desires that you have. We are now in the process of renewing our minds. Okay, would you read the third one?
Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil.
Yeah. So in that scripture, the thing that stands out to me is do not be wise in your own eyes. You know, we do the best we can, you know. I say this to people sometimes, but from the time we're born, we're working on becoming independent. You know, I mean, the whole process is about becoming independent, but yet, independence would indicate preclude is not the right word, but in an extreme form, it would mean that we're not in a relationship. And so the truth is that what we do on our own power is not what God wants us to do. He doesn't want us to do that. He wants us to be in relationship with Him. We were created by Him to be in relationship with Him. Okay, so in order to really be able to determine, to have a good understanding of belief systems, we kind of have to start with just a general understanding of the difference between perceptions and facts. So perceptions are our personal interpretation of data. They are subjective in nature. I believe it, other people may not, and they do not provide common ground in relationships, for healthy relationships. And facts are raw, verifiable data. They are objective. They are true for all people in all times. And they do provide common ground for healthy lives and relationships. So have you ever been in a relationship with somebody that their perception of the world is just a fact? And you know that that's just simply not true. And how difficult it is to be in relationship with somebody like that. Well, sometimes our perception of things is simply that. It is just our perception. And it really has to, and when you really want to test your belief system, you really have to be able to strip it down and say, okay, just what are the facts here? I cannot tell you how many relationships, I mean, how many times I heard this when I was growing up. How many times I heard this? Don't yell at me, I'm not yelling at you. Don't yell at me, I'm not yelling at you. And there would be a fight that would ensue about whether or not somebody is yelling. It's perception. It's not about the fact, right? Okay, so we're gonna play a little game. I'm gonna give you a statement, and I want you to tell me, man, I don't know what is going on with this. I had this problem last night too, this slide. Whoa, okay. I'm gonna have to fix that. Okay. I'm gonna read the statement to you, and you tell me if it's objective, which is fact. Oh, wait, hold up. I had a problem with.
I have this
Let
spinning
her
beach
reset
ball
it,
there.
Marcia.
Okay, you
Go
reset
back
it.
to the objective.
Objective or subjective?
Spinning beach ball of death.
Okay.
It's what?
There we go. Hold on a second.
She said something about the wall of death.
She's yelling at you.
Yeah, the spinning,
The spinning beach ball of death.
it's meaning.
Oh, the spinning beach ball of death. Yeah.
Okay, so,
So this happened last night too. So I was teaching it last night too. So I actually can do some of this without that. The slide. We'll wait until I comes up. But I'm going to say one to you, and I want you to tell me if it's objective or subjective. So objective would be fact, and subjective would be perception, right? The phone rang at 5:15 a.m.
Objective.
Objective, yeah. My son was very disrespectful to me last night.
Subjective.
Subjective. I had a devastating car accident. Subjective, yeah. So what is the word there that makes it subjective? Devastating, right. So if I said I had a car accident,
Objective.
that would be objective, right. So, just move on past that. We're done with that. Move on. Get me to where I was.
we're still trying to get the computer to work, so.
Oh, okay.
Just keep going.
So why do you think it's really important if you're testing a belief system that you deal in facts and not perceptions? Darren said perception is when you keep yourself in, no, you bring yourself in and you keep God out. That could be true, sure. Yeah, because sometimes when we start talking to God about it, we bring it into the light, it changes the view, right? Yeah, our perception distorts it, is what she said. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. What else? Why else do you think it's important that when you're trying to uncover belief systems, that you deal in facts and not perception?
Because
Another
reason is because you act out of your belief system.
Yes, absolutely,
You
Teresa.
behave out of your belief system.
You behave out of your belief system. Yes, absolutely. And if I'm acting, let's go back to me, if I'm acting out of a belief system that says that if I allow people to know me, that I'm going to be rejected, then then that totally changes my interactions with people. And oh, by the way, it perpetuates that belief. Because if we hold something to be a belief, we're going to make it come true. It has authority. And now, not everybody likes this idea, but you were created to be obedient. You're created as an obedient person. And so we are obedient to something. And so if we're being obedient to a lie, then we're going to make that come true, whether it's easy or hard. The other thing that's really important to understand the difference between is what is a feeling and what is a belief. So I'm going to read this. I'm going to read one of these to you, and you tell me, is it a feeling or a belief? I feel happy to see you today. Feeling or belief? Okay, let's do it louder. I feel happy to see you today. Is that a feeling or a belief? Feeling, yeah. What do you feel I should do? Feeling or belief? It's a tricky one. Belief. And why do you say belief? You're asking an opinion, yeah. If you can, an easy way to do this is if you can replace the word feel with believe. What do you believe I should do? You're talking about beliefs, not feelings. And here's the thing. We kind of have got this a little confused in our culture. Our culture has really not taught us a lot about feelings. And so it's important to be able to separate those. I feel it is wrong to marry a non-Christian. Feeling or belief? Belief. Cindy felt scared when she heard the loud noise. Feeling or belief? Feeling, right. I feel that I could have done a better job. Believe. I believe I could have done a better job. Carlos feels excited about graduating from college. Feeling, yeah. I feel that people should be on time for their appointments. Belief. Very good. And Andrea felt angry when the car cut her off in traffic. Feeling. Oh, one of the ones, the slide that I couldn't come up, and I told you we were trying to figure out what was perception or fact, the last one. I don't know. The guy who did this presentation is very funny. And the last one said, my wife snored like a chainsaw. Perception or fact. I just remember that. It was perception. Okay, on page 62 in your workbooks, you see a feeling wheel. So what we've learned about feelings in here is that God created you with feelings, and they serve a purpose in your life. We do not want to be led by them. We want to be led by what? Say it again. Faith, yeah. By the Spirit, yeah. We want God to lead us, but feelings are important to us. And I think sometimes in our culture we have labeled emotions poorly. We've said that they're bad, and we shouldn't have them. That's not true. I also think that I've seen a lot of people operate in a very narrow space with feelings. So I was working with this husband and wife, and I would say to the husband, so how does it make you feel? Mad. Okay, so how does it make you feel? Mad. And so about the third time I asked him about it, he said, look, I've got two feelings. I've got mad and not mad. And as it relates to my marriage, I'm mad. And I said, okay, I got it. And he was being truthful. He was being truthful because what we tend to do is we've got all of these, we have all of these emotions that God created us with. I mean, there's a ton of them on that page, and there are more yet. And we don't want to feel yucky emotions, so we say, well, I'm not going to feel that, and so I'm going to just operate over here in the ones that make me feel good. So we just think we're going to be able to operate right here, but that's not the way it works. The way that it works is if we start shutting down emotions, we shut them all down. So when I came to Oaks, I was operating in a space about like that. He was operating in an even tinier space, mad and not mad. And so for us to be able to really test our belief systems You know, when you went through ministry, your ministry leader may have asked you, how did that feel? And sometimes just being able to have the word is really important. I won't tell this turn. But
Hold on, you mean have the word, you mean as in scripture, or just have the word?
the word,
Oh.
the actual English word. So when you look at that feeling wheel, you might think about it in terms of viewing it three-dimensionally. So the center of it is like a volcano. So the center of it is higher. So we can be in touch with peaceful and mad and scared, maybe more readily than inferior or amused or valuable. You know, we don't say, oh, well, how are you feeling today? I feel very valuable. We don't say that, right? And so searching for the real feeling is helpful. So when you are trying to determine what your feelings are, this page might be helpful to you in just having the words. Any questions about that? Or anything? No. Okay, 5 rules of rational Christian thinking. This is on page 69. We flip back and forth a little bit. Is this thought based on objective reality? Meaning, does it align with God's word? Is this thought nurturing me? Is this thought helping me to achieve my goals? Is it keeping me out of inappropriate conflict with others? Please note, it doesn't say, is it keeping me out of conflict? Our goal is not to be out of conflict. Our goal is to be out of inappropriate conflict. And is this thought keeping me out of inappropriate conflict with myself? The suggestion here is that you need to be able to answer yes to all of these. I'm going to go so far as to say if you can't get past one with a yes, then you might want to check it. So what is the process of renewing the mind? It's to identify the lie or the false belief. It is to look for the roots of the false belief and who to forgive. It is to acknowledge the false belief as lies, ask God to forgive you for believing the lie and renounce them, and pray to God, I choose today to believe what your word says about me. Take a stand and persevere and use scripture to instill truth and set us free from deception. That is the process of renewing the mind. That is easily said, and so let's talk about how you practically do that. I heard that term all of my life, renew the mind. I had no idea what it meant. And it really means to challenge the things that we think about, the things that we believe, the things that we hold as a position of authority in our lives that are not aligned with God. So, I have this tool to introduce to you. This is called a Life Event Revelation Chart, LERC. You'll see one on page 66 in your binders. If you look there, you'll see over to the far left, activating event. So what actually took place? These are the facts and not your perception. I'm going to play one out. You don't have to you'll see how it works. And then the current belief system is B, consequential feelings is C, and current decisive behavior is D. I didn't come up with this, but the reason why they used activating event, belief system, consequent is A, B, C, D. So it's supposed to be easy to remember. Over here, the far right rather, current decisive behavior, I think that's confusing. Here's what it means. What did you do? What is it that you did? So use do or did as kind of the keywords there. How did you react to the activating event? And we're just going to skip that whole bottom portion. We'll talk about that later. Okay. Now, you'll see this arrow from activating event, moving all the way over to the second step being the decisive behavior. And the reason why that is because if you're trying to figure, if you're using a situation and you're trying to figure out what was my belief there, it is way easier to say, what are the facts about what happened and what did I do? That's pretty simple to come up with. And so go to that. And then you can back into, well, what was I feeling? When that happened, what was I feeling? And then to challenge yourself and to say, what was it that I believed? We're going to work some of these so that you see how it works. It doesn't, now this is where, I was talking to Sheila about this, and I said, now this is where I pause, and then Sheila raises her hand, and you say, what?
Well, sometimes,
She's there every time. She always helps me here.
because sometimes we know what happened, we know the activating event, but we are so caught up in our feeling that sometimes we go to feeling first.
Yeah.
Because I'm angry,
Yes.
I'm mad.
Yes. Right. Exactly. So I taught this, well, I guess it was the last time, it was 2 nights ago, I taught this in another class, and at break, somebody came up to me and just was talking, and all she wanted to talk about was how she felt. She knew how she felt. She was enraged. I mean, that's literally, she used the word rage. That's how she felt. So we had to kind of capture that, get that on, let's capture that, get that on paper, and then let's start to figure out the rest of it. Okay, so let me show you how this works. This is an example for you. Okay, the activating event is a snake attacked me on the driveway. Well, first of all, is that perception or is that based upon perception or fact? Snake attacked me on the driveway. Huh? Perception.
Actually, like.
It bit me, right, yeah, right. And in this particular example, the person was not attacked. Okay, so a snake attacked me on the driveway, and decisive behavior is kill it. Okay? And what I might be feeling is fear and anxiety. And so I have to ask myself, well, why do I feel that? What is it, what is it causing me to feel that? What is it that I believe about me, about snakes? And I might hold the belief that snakes are very dangerous. So if I believe that snakes are very dangerous, then the likelihood that I'm going to kill it is strong, right? But look there, let's do a reality check. What would a video or audio require to play back? Only facts, no perceptions. And the fact is, oh yeah, okay. The snake crossed the driveway. That's what really happened. And if I believe that the snake is not poisonous and most snakes are not dangerous, then how do you think I'm going to feel? If I hold that belief instead, then how am I going to feel? Relaxed, what'd you say? Doesn't bother me? Not threatened? Yeah. So I still might feel some anxiety because I don't run across snakes all the time. And I might be excited, I might be calm. But my behavior is I'm going to move the snake away from the grass.
Away from the driveway.
So, okay. Well, we're going to talk about that because our God is funny. He thinks he's really funny. So, what happened? So, the idea here is that your belief drives your behavior. Okay. So there's another lesson here. It took me a couple of years to get, but I finally got it. I really just love God, and I got it. So I start teaching this. This is not my example. The example is actually in your book. And so we put it up on the screen so we can talk it through. My husband has always traveled since I've known him for the most part for business. But a few years ago, he started taking international trips. And he would be gone, instead of Monday through Thursday, he would be gone for 5 weeks, 6 weeks at a time. So I had to begin doing some yard work. So those of you that have been doing yard work for a long time, feel free to weigh in and to give me pointers and tips, but I just made some mistakes and one of the first mistakes that I did, I knew that I had to get the leaves off the grass. It was really bad. And so, so I blew. I thought I was brilliant, actually. I took my blower, which I had learned to start, and I went outside and I blew all of the leaves up against the garage door, because I thought that made sense, so I didn't have to stand in the leaves, and it would be a block for them, and they would build up, and then I could scoop them with my scoopers, and I could put them in the sack. Well, okay, so lesson learned, take the leaf bag out of the garage before you blow the leaves up against the garage door, but that's fine. I worked around that, and I began to scoop these leaves up. And I don't know how long I did it. It wasn't very many scoops before I saw it, the snake that was in my pile of leaves and was flinging around. I'm not going to exaggerate. I'm going to tell you the facts. The snake was about as big around as my pinky finger, but it was that long. And it was upset, and it reared up, and it stuck its tongue out at me and started hissing at me. I've taught this. I know most snakes are not dangerous, right? But I wasn't feeling that way. I was feeling like panicking. I was screaming. And I had two retired couples on either side of me. I live in a cul-de-sac. It's only the 3 houses. And I'm waiting for one of them to come to my rescue. There's no rescue happening. And I have to do something about the snake. So I'm thinking about just walking away, and I see him go under my garage door. And I now know that he's on his way upstairs to my bedroom. Right? And I'm having this conflict because I know the truth. I've taught this. I know that most snakes are not dangerous, but that is not the way that I'm feeling. And I'm reacting out of how I feel, not what I intellectually know. And so I'm telling this story because it's funny, and because God's funny. He's funny, and he thinks it's hysterical. And I'm like, I really need to really take that to heart. I really need to examine it. And I was standing in front of a group like this, teaching this when I finally heard it. This is what I finally heard. If I want to believe that snakes are not dangerous, what do I need to do? If I really wanted to understand how the snake genus, is that what it is? I don't even know. If the snake culture, whatever, if I really wanted to believe how snakes are, what would I need to do? What would you recommend that I do? Pick it up? Yeah? What else?
That was research stuff.
Research it? Yes, absolutely. I think I would choose your choice before I chose your choice, but yes, both are true. Yeah? What else could I do? I mean, I have to know snakes. If I really want to make it not just what's right here, but if I want to make it my belief, I have to know about snakes. I have to pursue snakes. If I want to know God's truth in my life, I can't just read it. You just read about snakes in your book, or you saw it up there. You can't just read it and make that your belief system. You have to pursue truth. If I want to believe that, if I want to believe, if I now have revelation that if I allow people to know me, they are going to reject me. If I know that that is a lie and that I'm worthy, that God, through God, how He created me, my worth comes from Him. If I want to not just know it right here, but I want it to travel the 18 inches to right here, I have to pursue that. And I have to spend time with that. And I have to pick it up. I got to research it. I got to pick it up. I got to spend time with it. And I have to grasp it as the truth. So it took me 2 years for me to hear the lesson in that, of why I had to wrestle with a snake on my driveway, which I did get out of my. And the funny thing is, I'll just tell you the rest of the story. I say to my dad, who at the time was still alive, I say to my dad, hey, there's a snake. And he's like, oh yeah. When you moved into that house, you remember they had something done with the driveway, we had to fill in some dirt and whatever. There's a whole family of snakes that were living underneath there. Been there for like 12 years. Okay, so I live, they live there. Okay, let's go to a more personal example than snakes. Because in this situation, this chart, by the way, I didn't say this chart is for when you are in conflict with another person, when you are in conflict with yourself, or when you're in conflict with God. That's when you use this. Who was I in conflict with here? When I actually saw the snake, who was I in conflict with? Myself, yeah, because I was wrestling with what is true, what is not true, that kind of thing. So now I'm going to show you one a little bit more closer to home. This is really, this really is my life. I mean, this really did happen in my life. Okay, so in my life, my husband and I went through a very dark period in our marriage. And just about anything that two people can do to hurt one another, we did it. So you make it up, it probably happened in my marriage. We did a lot of hurting. And it was through that hurting that we found Vineyard. We had just stopped going to church, and we found Vineyard, and I really attribute this, that God used this church and the people in this church to help heal my relationship with my husband. And the time I went through Oaks, we had healed some, but I've said this before, I came to Oaks to fix him. That's really, I just want to fix him, get some more tools. And that's not what it all happened. I mean, God really got a hold of me in a very different way. But this example happened to me after Oaks, after I had done work on my belief system, after I had revelation of the lie that I believed. So the scenario is that we were in our kitchen, it was a Saturday, and I don't know, I was cleaning or doing dishes or something, I don't know what I was doing. And he was in there, we were talking, and I have no idea what we were talking about, but whatever it was, he had to reach out to another person to ask a question. And so he texted that person. And we went on talking, and then he said, well, I'm gonna go out and do some yard work. So it's always about yard work. But so he left, and he went outside, and he was working outside. I'm still in the kitchen, and his phone went off. He left his phone there, and his phone went off. So I didn't even think about it. I just went over and picked up his phone because we're waiting on an answer from somebody. And I see a text from a woman that I don't know. And what this doesn't say is that the text said something like, I got that book that you told me about, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. Hope you're having a great day. I mean, something along those lines. A reference to a book. And we had some trust issues in our relationship, and so when when you've gone through that, then you can feel those feelings really fast. Because I'm now in a new situation. I've just all of those feelings of trust and questions about trust came back to me like instantly as I'm standing there in my kitchen holding stuff. And my initial reaction was to want to confront him, and I would worry about him, whether or not he's having an affair, who is this person, why hasn't he told me about her, I don't know who she is, her name is programmed in the phone. And the old Marcia would have literally run out of the house holding the phone, like the orangutan where their arms are like, what? That's literally what I would have done. And I'm not ashamed to tell you that that's who I was. Because there's such a difference between who I was and who I am. And I would have yelled at him, and I would have confronted him, and what I was feeling in that moment, I mean, I didn't do that, but that's what I wanted to do. And in that moment, I was feeling fear, and I was feeling abandonment. And it just goes right back to my belief system. My husband knows me, therefore he will reject me. Now, I want to put a pause on that for just 1 second and share with you that I can make, husband did a lot of things in our marriage that were hurtful. And if I had to get a board and score them, I could write those injustices and those hurts, and I could write them in a way where you could be like, wow, he's a jerk. But the truth is that he was fighting a losing battle, because my belief was that he was going to reject me, and I was going to make that come true. I was going to behave in the most rejectionable way. And that's exactly what I did. I behaved, my belief system had an impact on my behavior. And I never even knew it. And in fact, I didn't even know it when I went through Oaks. It really took me some time to unwind all that, to be able to see all of the ways that I had controlled him and manipulated him and disrespected him, and the way he reacted to me. I'm not saying that he made his own choices. The choices that he made in our marriage, he owns that. I don't own that. But I understand my role, right? And it's because I was operating out of that belief system. And by cracky, I'm obedient. Cracky, that's on film. Dang, I don't want to say that. That's what my dad would say. By golly. By golly, I'm obedient, and I'm going to make whatever I believe, I'm going to make that come true, and I made it come true in my marriage. Okay. So now fast forward, I'm in the kitchen. So the moment I start to feel that, I say to myself, what is it that I'm believing right now? Oh yeah, I'm believing that because he knows me, he's going to reject me. That's what I'm believing. That's what I'm reacting out of. And that's not what I want to react out of. So, the activating event, so let's go down to renewed, the renewed mind. At the bottom, I see a text from a woman that I don't know. Still the same activating event. Didn't change. So what do you think is the healthy belief system here? What is the healthy belief system? When I see a text from a woman I don't know, what's the healthy belief system? Yeah?
Well, that may not have anything to do with it.
It may not have anything to do with me.
I mean, whether it's from work or, something else.
Okay, so a healthy belief system could be, it may be benign. Yeah? What are other thoughts? What would a healthy belief system be here?
Well, my husband knows me and he's not going to.
My husband knows me, he's not going to reject me. And see, these right here are where I got stuck. This is where I got stuck, because that's not God's truth. God's truth is not that because my husband knows me, he will not reject me, because the truth of the matter is he might. So if I'm going to put all of my belief into another person, then that puts me in a position where I probably am where I could very feasibly be hurt. And it further makes me want to control it. If I can control them, if they'll just be a good actor, then that way I won't get hurt. Well, that's just not true. The truth of the matter is that the way that God loves us is he gives us the choice to love him or to not love him. He gives us free will. He gives us a choice to make decisions in our relationships. And I want you to know, I introduced Kathy to my husband the other night at an event here, and I wanted to say, and I'm going to talk about him, and he's really a great guy, because he really is. He's a man of God. He is a man of God. It just took us a while to get there. And I trust him, I do trust him, but my trust in him took a long time to develop after I distrusted him. We had to work on that in our relationship. Here's the real belief system. I went to my ministry, I was really hung up on this. And I was, it was probably 4 months after I had gone through Oaks. I was really hung up on, it wasn't this particular example, but it was an example. And she said, okay, let's get together. So I went, and she was just kind of a straight shooter. And Her name is Annette, and she listened to me and she let me go about 4 or 5 minutes, and then she's like, oh yeah, you got it all wrong. Why are you working so hard on trusting him? Why don't you worry about trusting God? Yeah. So my real belief system, oh, the arrows, is I know that God is in our marriage. I know that God has an interest in our marriage. That is truth. And I'm going to suggest to you that God has an interest in your marriages. He has an interest in your relationship with your daughter. He has an interest in the relationship with your son. He has an interest in the relationship with your boss. But for sure he has an interest in my marriage. And I trust the Lord, and I believe that he will take care of me regardless of what happens. My husband is awesome. I love him so much. I trust him. But I also have an understanding that we live in a fallen world. I might do something to hurt him, and he might do something to hurt me, but what I know is regardless of what happens in that relationship, God has got me. That's my belief system. I really believe that. I really believe that. And that is a huge shift. So when I see a text from a woman and I reset myself and I remember the truth, I still feel some anxiety at this earthly level, but I feel peace here that I never experienced before I knew the truth. When I was trying to work it all out on this level, this earthly level, I never knew peace. When I worked it out here, I knew peace. And my behavior was, I had no significant behavior. Now, I've used this example before, but this morning, I was prompted to say this to you. I've never said this before. I want to make sure that you have an understanding that I'm not telling you that if you pick up a phone and you see a text from somebody that you don't know on your spouse's phone, that your decisive behavior is to do nothing. That's advice, and I'm not giving you that. Because the way that you feel about it, the way what God tells you to do, what he tells me to do, may be very different. What I am saying is do not act out of a lie. I am telling you, I am suggesting to you that operating out of the truth, God's truth, you're going to have a better reaction. I don't know why I was supposed to say that, but, well, you know why. It's because of this. It's because when we go to our friends, when we talk to our friends about, well, let me tell you what happened, and we tell them, what did they tell us back? Well, you could do this, or you could do that, right? They give you advice. And I'm not an advice giver here. I'm just wanting to tell you in my life, when I have to stand on the truth, the reaction is very different. And in this case, God rewarded me for that, because that's what he wanted me to do. There are 2 breath prayers that I have said for a long time. One of them was right after God invokes. It was because I was so judgmental. It was, Lord, give me the eyes to see them the way that you see them. Prayed it all the time. Just that quick. Prayed it all the time. And the other one is, and Sheila spoke it with just different words this morning, but what is it that you want me to do in this moment? It would be awesome if God could give us the end story. If I could know whether I was going to be 95 on a rocker with my husband, that would be awesome if I could see that, if I could know it. But the truth is that I don't. And what I have to do is I have to love the way that God teaches me to love, and I have to trust in God every day. And I have to ask him in every moment, what do you want me to do right here? Okay, here's another example. This one was Fred. Not Fred Aaron, Fred, the dude that did this, the guy that did this. Thank you, French Wong. So he had a really awesome job, and he got promoted, and he got to the point where he was being challenged. And by people were challenging him at work. And so that was the activating event. And his decisive behavior was that he became aggressively confident. Have you guys ever known that person? Somebody that is just so confident that you're just a little aggressive about it. And that was really hiding feelings of insecurity and insignificance. And he was not feeling good enough for what was going on. But his activating event was that did not change. And then turn page 55, I think, is the I am statements. Let's go there and see what you have. 50. Yes, it's 55. That's a whole big old list of God's truth about you. And a whole big old list. All kinds of ways that you can use this. I told you about the woman who put it on her mirror, right? Yeah. Another way is to stand alone someplace and read these, and read them aloud and say, do I believe that? Yeah, I believe that one. Yes, I believe that. Nope. I really don't own that one. And then just meditate on that. Read scripture related to that. Do whatever you need to do. Pursue God's truth about who you are and why you're here. He tells us. So Fred spent some time really having an understanding of who he is. And when he really had God's truth as with his identity was tied into who God said that he was. He is good enough. His identity became tied into God's truth. Then he started to feel appreciated, respected, and he was able to actively listen, calmly, and collectively respond. Okay, so totally different personality than this sweet Tara. Complete different personality. Here's what's the same. Is that when he was focused on the lie, it was about him. When he was focused on the truth, it was about others. He was able to be Jesus to others when he knew the truth in his own life. Right? Amen. Okay. I think we're going to stop here for just 1 second. I want to check in with you guys. What questions do you have before we go any further? What's not making sense to you? Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and take a break.
This one?
How long do you want to do? 20 minutes? 15
sorry.
minutes?